Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Well, some good news about the Erik and Lyle Menendez situation. Basically, the Los Angeles County District Attorney, what's his name, George Gascón, I think his name is, has recommended, or is going to recommend to the court tomorrow, that the Menendez brothers are resentenced. He is basically going to suggest that they remove the life without parole sentencing, which is what they got. And conventionally they would get 50 years to life, but because they were both under the age of 26 when the crime occurred and when they were sentenced, they would actually be eligible for parole now, so they could get out right away. They could basically get time served because they've been in there for like 35 years. So this is really great. I mean, when they were tried the first time, basically it was a hung jury. They were both tried separately, and there was a hung jury basically where women sided with them. They understood that they were abused and what that can do. But the men were all in denial. They couldn't handle the idea of men being abused and boys being abused, and they all were on the other side. So they had a hung jury, and then they were able to have another court case, and they were tried together, but they were basically had their hands tied behind their back because they weren't allowed to actually use the abuse as a defence. So it's like, okay, yeah, you kind of won that other case in a way, but you can have another case, but we're just going to make sure you don't have a defence this time, so you definitely get sentenced to life for this, because there was no doubt they did the crime, but the issue was, why did they do the crime? Were there circumstances? And being boys that were allegedly abused from the age of 6, that were living and raised in an environment of torture, abuse, and fear, and an irrational sort of fear of this father figure who was so abusive that they just thought he was just all-powerful, and they just didn't live in a normal, healthy reality, and didn't develop like normal, healthy boys would. And that's how they end up doing what they did and being who they became. Since then, they've been reformed, they've been rehabilitated, they are model prisoners, and I think, time served should be enough for them to get out. I think, like people said, if they were the Menendez sisters, they would have gotten treated totally differently, and they would have been sentenced differently, and they would have been out already. And it's not fair that there's this problem we have in society where men and the patriarchy just cannot handle the idea of boys being abused, men being abused, being victims. They see only women as victims, and unfortunately the misandrous society we live in only sees men as being perpetrators, and the idea that men can be victims of or abused by other men or women is something we just cannot handle. The patriarchy just cannot process it, and it means boys like this don't speak out, men like this don't get help, don't get treatment, and often crimes like this happen. And we need to change that, and this is one of the first steps for such a high profile case like this to be revised, because if it were being tried today, it'd be tried totally differently. We've had a cultural shift where we actually seem to at least understand on some level, some people, that boys can be abused, men can be victims. It's not just women, and that we need to take that in consideration, and maybe we eventually can get this into our collective heads and get some legislation and some awareness and some treatment and some help for people like this, then we won't have people suffering and then taking it out on the people around them and society and so forth. So this is great. I'm really happy about this. I hope they get it. I hope this is not like other cases that sort of got examined and they basically just did it it was just purely superficial, and they just did it to respond to sort of public demand but didn't actually do anything, like the reopening of Marilyn Monroe's case, for example, cases like that go nowhere. But this I feel good about. So I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of how the Menendez case is being looked at today, how it was treated then, and I just really hope these guys get out. I really hope they get a second chance, because they didn't have a chance for a normal life with the way that they were raised. I should mention part of this is because there has been new evidence as well because you can't get an appeal with your old evidence. But if you get new evidence, like there was a letter that Lyle? One of them wrote, Lyle Erik, I don't know, one of them wrote to a cousin about the abuse. And there are other relatives and who've talked about the parents now. And also there was another boy who has accused their father of abusing him when he was younger, and was being dealt with him in the music industry and that. So hopefully this works, hopefully they get out, and hopefully this is an example and changes the way that we treat these cases going forward. But yeah, I'm going to go.